Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. All right, so music starts us off as it normally does. So we have some stuff that has come out this week that has been digested by me, the nerdy one. So we're going to get into a That Just Happened section for music. First thing, we talked about this on the stream on the live episode last week, and that is Wednesday 13's new record, Horrifier. That came out last week. And I didn't go through the whole record. I did go through about half of it, though, and it's a little bit more of what I was expecting than that one track would lead me to believe the rest of this album was going to be. So kind of, if you've listened to a Murder Dolls record, or if you've listened to a Wednesday 13 record at this point, you know what you're getting into. He hasn't really changed the formula much. There is some... there's a little bit of a heavier side. Honestly, by and large, it's just the one track that we did the reaction to. So, nothing crazy out of the ordinary for Wednesday 13. If you like his brand of goth, horror, pop, punk, whatever the heck you're calling it these days, glam rock, then you should check this one out. It's kind of a meh kind of release for me. But the other two for That Just Happened this week in music that I finally got my hands on, I got Lamb of God, Omens. That came out a little over a week ago. And Slipknot, The End So Far. So Lamb of God, Omens, I think this is probably my favorite record since Wrath. I know they've only put out 2 records since Wrath, but I think this is return to form. I definitely like it better than Sacrament. That's not saying much. That's kind of the low bar. I definitely like this better. I can't even remember the name of the last record right now, but better than the last record for sure, which was the last one that they did with Chris Adler on drums. This is the first one they've done with Art Cruz on drums, and there is definitely a grooviness that hasn't really been present in a Lamb of God record for a long time. They found it again with Wrath after they lost it for Sacrament, and they kind of just had it at the beginning. They worked into it with Palaces and stuff, so yeah, absolutely return to form for the dudes in Lamb of God, and a couple of standout tracks that that haven't been released as singles so far. September Song, I actually really dug that one. That is a very different feel for a tune for Lamb of God. That is like there's acoustics involved and just things going on and stuff that, yeah, kind of came out of left field for a Lamb of God track. So really dug, and very, very dynamic as far as performance goes. Like I said, acoustic section, balls out heavy section, acoustic section, that kind of stuff. So yeah, really different feel for a Lamb of God track. And then Vanishing was just like, I don't know what it is about that. It's really speedy, but it's still super groovy. I just couldn't help. I was by and large doing mostly research while listening to it. So even during research, I subconsciously started nodding my head to it. So yeah, absolutely a fantastic outing for the boys in Lamb of God. And then the other piece for That Just Happened this week in music is Slipknot's The End So Far. Finally, this one's been out for a little over 2 weeks, and I finally got to it. And I gotta say, I don't know why people are getting so grumpy about this. Yes, it's not Iowa. It's not Iowa heavy. Nothing that they will ever put out ever in the future will ever be as heavy as Iowa. That just is the state of things. It's just, these are the things we have to come to accept as Slipknot fans. You accept the evolution of this band. Yes, they put out one of potentially the heaviest albums ever, at the very least, one of the heaviest top 40 albums ever, if not the heaviest top 40 album ever. And they kind of evolved from there. There are still super heavy elements to this. This is every record is like the amalgamation of everything that's come before for these guys, and this is that, and then they kind of add a couple of new elements. Or more in line with this record, it's not necessarily adding a whole lot of new, though there is some new. Corey is definitely taking his vocals in a lot of new directions, and I really, really dig that. A lot, actually. He's really getting super colorful with those vocals, and it just adds so much flavor. But instrumentally, they're adding some elements that you haven't really seen for a couple of albums. Honestly, some things we haven't seen since Iowa that aren't the heavy bits, because obviously we get heavy bits in every Slipknot record. So yeah, standout tracks here, again, that haven't been released as singles because, man, Chapeltown Rag, after listening to this album and where they've placed it in the lineup for the record, just really a great song. I love the Chapeltown Rag. I love Yen. I love so much about this record, but all of those are the singles. This one, Desaad, is decidedly different in its dynamics. This is another one where they're playing a lot with those dynamics like I like that they're so very good at. And then the finale is something, so it starts off with Adderall, which is, we talked about that song. It's another one that was released as a single. But it starts out with Adderall, which is a very subdued song, especially for Slipknot. And then the finale is subdued, but in different ways. And I think the performance emphasizes the beginning of Adderall emphasizes the ending of the finale. So like it's very complimentary and it works super well. Obviously, I'm a fan of Lamb of God and Slipknot, and you should absolutely go check out both of these records. That is what we have for this. So let's get into some proper follow-ups this week. We talked last episode about the Roadrunner United record and how they were teasing that something is going to be coming out soon in some sort of vein along those lines. Well, we got that announcement finally, and the announcement is that the original record and the original performances are being reissued. So they've already actually re-uploaded a high definition version of one of the live performances for the song The End. You can find a link to that down in the description. But the original performance, 2005, live at the Nokia Theater in New York. And yeah, just crazy. I couldn't decipher if they were going to be remastered tracks as well, if they were going to put this in the hands of a producer, Jason Sukoff type, or whoever the dude is that did the new Slipknot record, whom I still love. Yeah, if it's going to be something along those lines, or if they're just going to reissue reprint the record again. So if something along those lines comes out between now and then, we will definitely keep tabs on this. But the reissues are officially launching on March 10th of 2023. So it's going to be a little bit of time, which makes me think that they are going to remaster it. But again, I cannot say that for certain. So we'll check in again as we get closer to that. So that is all we have for follow-ups. Let's get into new music for this episode. New music videos, more specifically. I think all of these are videos. I take that back. The first one is not a video. The first one is Nickelback has released another single. Don't judge. So the first Nickelback track with this Return album, or whatever the heck you're going to call it, I thought was not too bad. It was kind of a rockin' tune. It was definitely the closest thing they've come to metal probably ever. And, you know, it kind of held its own. It's definitely something that's going to get a heavy rotation on active rock radio. This one, though, the name of this track is Those Days. This is kind of just rewriting the hits. This is revisiting the sentimentality of Photograph. This is playing on heartstrings, more nostalgia strings, even just, I don't know, kind of Chad Kroeger. Still super catchy riff, super catchy melody, super catchy tune overall, but just falls a little flat of what we know this man is capable of. And obviously he's capable of a lot if he got so much hate. So yeah, I don't know who this track is for other than hardcore Nickelback fans. Next band is a band I've honestly never heard of before, but that's because they are a brand new band. They are called Cage Fight. The name of this track is Eating Me Alive, and it's featuring Trevor Strnad. Now, this band is notable aside from the fact that they got the now passed Black Dahlia murder vocalist, but they also feature former guitar player from Tesseract, John something. And this is an interesting kind of amalgamation of what you would expect from kind of a Tesseract song, not quite that intricate, but also kind of the balls out heaviness of maybe a Black Dahlia. But again, still not quite as technical as Black Dahlia, just kind of just punching, going along, riding hard the whole time. It's a relatively short song when you consider the origins of the creators of this song, and also super noteworthy to be featuring Trevor Strnad. But it's a lot of fun. I'm interested to hear more from this Cage Fight band. They are a female-fronted band, and just kind of, it's really cool to see more chicks doing vocals. I dig it. So yeah, definitely a recommend if you like the aggressive stuff, though don't expect anything too mind-blowing. And another female-fronted band in this round of new music is Brat. This is a New Orleans-based band, which is kind of what caught my eye about them. The name of the song is Human Offense, and they are billed as death metal hardcore punk. Death metal influenced hardcore punk, I believe is how it went. And if this is what hardcore punk is now, I'm not, like, I don't know. The riffage is fun, kind of, but I feel like that is the only redeeming factor of this band. Kind of lackluster performance on vocals, kind of lackluster performance on drums, just kind of not a whole lot to salvage this sound. And it's kind of, I don't know, just kind of leaves a weird taste in your mouth, I guess is the way to put that. So I don't know if I can get behind Brat. I honestly don't know anyone that would really be into this, as it is on the bottom side of the mediocre pile, I guess you could put that. So, Brat, Human Offense, maybe steer clear. Now we are into the tour section. That's right, we have tours. Well, we have one tour, and it's kind of a continuation of a tour we've already talked about, and that is the Trinity of Terror tour. Though, it seems that, and maybe I missed this when we talked about it initially, but it seems that they've added, honestly, one of my favorite bands of all time. So the Trinity of Terror tour, from what I understood it to be, was Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and Black Veil Brides. And now, for this new leg of the Trinity of Terror, there's now 4 bands, Atreyu being number 4. Love Atreyu a lot. But they have added some dates. They will be playing the When We Were Young festival in Las Vegas, October 22nd through the 29th. There are only 3 days between those 7 dates that the When We Were Young festival is happening. But yeah, that is when that is. And then they're going pretty solidly from there all the way through December 12th is when the tour ends in Seattle. There are some Canadian dates, so go check out, link down in the description if you are looking for tickets for this. It's gonna be an interesting show. Like, Ice Nine Kills puts on a hell of a show. I really don't like Motionless in White or Black Veil Brides, but again, very good showmen all around. And Atreyu is so much fun, even if they are opening the show, which I can't imagine why they would be, because I'm pretty sure they have better sales than everyone save for Ice Nine Kills. But that's just probably my bias showing. Either way, go check out this tour, because it's definitely going to be worth your time. If for no other reason, then it's just going to be a hell of a good, fun show to watch. But let's get into regular ass news. We got Gojira is teasing some new music. The name of this new song that they're teasing, that they haven't released yet properly, is called Our Time Is Now. It is due this Friday, October 14th, and it's going to be on a video game soundtrack. The NHL, the new NHL game on EA Sports, is where this is coming out on, and that seems really pretty weird, actually. I dig it. Like, last time something like this happened, Mastodon did a cover of One Is the Loneliest Number by Three Dog Night, and it was only like a 10-second clip on a commercial for Army of Two game, I believe. I could be misremembering that. Some war game. But that's the only place that was ever released. I've never been able to find a full version of their cover of that Three Dog Night song. So since this is going on a proper soundtrack, the presumption is there's going to be some sort of release, be it digital or physical, that you can get the entire track and any of the tracks that exist on this, because there were a number of other pretty decent ones on there as well. The biggest one, though, being new freaking music from Gojira. Yes, please, and thank you. And then our next piece of regular-ass news has to do with Blink-182. This is honestly a follow-up, but kind of more a rumor confirmation, because up until this point, these things have been shot down by members of the band. But now we know for sure that Tom DeLonge has rejoined the fold of Blink-182. Now, what does that mean for Matt Skiba? I was unable to find that information. Is he still going to be playing? Are they actually going to have two guitar players now, which would be really weird for a Blink-182 record? They do have a new single coming out and a new record. The single is coming out also this Friday, October 14th. The record has no release date, though very likely they will release it sometime in the first quarter of 2023, because as we've talked about previously, most bands want to put out new music within the first quarter to first half of the year so that they can bill themselves as having new music for the year. Nobody releases new music, new records anyway, in the last quarter of the year at all, unless it's a brand new single for a record that's coming out in the following year. So, yeah, very, very likely we'll be seeing new record from Blink-182, the reformed Blink-182, sometime in early 2023. And again, new single, October 14th, this coming Friday. All of that being said, that is what we have for the music section, which brings us to music suggestions for the episode. We are, in fact, doing the Roadrunner United album as our musical suggestion. We've talked about this a number of times on the show, and so now I am just going to tell you to go listen to this album. It is streaming on YouTube. It is on Spotify, I'm pretty sure. But I know for certain it's on YouTube because that's where I usually listen to it, because I don't always have my copy readily available. This is an album that deserves your time. Artists from throughout the history of Roadrunner Records up until that point. Not all of them, I believe, at the time were currently signed to the label, but they came in and did a thing, and it was amazing. Look into the history of how this record was made, and also listen to this record a few times this next week, because you'll thank me later. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.